My name is Jackie and I'm the production designer for Love in Vain. I actually had no idea that I wanted to work in the art department until I was working as a runner on this feature film in uni, and their production designer didn't have an assistant. So I sort of ended up helping her out a lot and discovered that it was just so much fun, basically. So yeah, after that, I just decided that's what I wanted to try and do. The film was called God's Petting You, and it was basically about two addicts who have this romance, and it was kind of this comic drama, quite a fun tone. I helped with sort of setting up some of the sets and striking them afterwards, and I think I did a bit of prop sourcing, not loads, but because it was around Brighton, it was filmed around Brighton, so I sort of knew a lot of places to get stuff. Oh, and I collected printing once from Brighton Print Centre, which I now always use. So I've worked on a good mix of projects, both as an art director and assisting on short films, feature films, a little bit of fashion photography, and one commercial, which was really fun and really crazy because I accidentally saw it on TV like 6 months later, which was very nice. Probably the biggest thing I've worked on was when I was the art assistant on a Georgia Smith music video for her song Home. And that was a lot of fun. There was this beautiful house in London, very Architects Digest vibes. So something I learned when I was the production designer on this feature film, it sounds really obvious when you think about it, but it's just how important it is to focus on character first. Because I remember reading the script and realising there were like 40 locations, and I think we had about 5 or 6 weeks to prep for it. So I just immediately panicked and went into all the logistics, all the budgeting, all the spreadsheets, and then realised like a few days later that I had no idea who these characters were and how I was supposed to represent them, which is obviously the most important part. So I had to backtrack quite a lot, but that was a good lesson to learn. So I got involved in Love in Vain because I went to school with Phil. Nepotism! So me and Phil, the lovely director of Love in Vain, were in the same friendship group in uni, and he was kind enough to ask me to get involved in the feature-length version. I wasn't involved in the short film, so it was really exciting to kind of become part of it. In terms of influences, I like to look at a lot of different kinds of visual media, especially fashion photography or music video, because I find they tend to be a lot more creative and abstract in a way that I like. I use Instagram a lot to find visual references, so I follow a lot of set designers, interior designers, photographers, and a lot of those accounts that post like vintage interiors. Love that stuff. I think it's so important to have a wide range of visual references because it really shapes the kinds of things you can even imagine. When I first start work on a project, after reading the script and kind of going through everything and noting down my initial thoughts, I really like chatting with the director to get as much information as I can about the characters. So I love finding out their sort of backgrounds, their personalities, any hobbies and things that they might be into, because it all helps kind of paint a picture and helps me decide what their space is going to look like. I also like to have lots of conversations with the gaffer or DOP, as well as the director, to go over the bigger visual picture for the film. So together we'll sort of talk about an overarching visual style, which will include sort of colours, lights, things like that. And once I've got a really good idea of everything that we're working towards, I start by breaking down the set. So I get a spreadsheet up and write down every single location in the film, whether it's exterior or interior, and how many scenes take place there, as well as what scenes they are. And then I go into the specific set breakdowns where I read through like all the scenes within a specific set or location and write down all the action props that were featured in the script, as well as sort of coming up with any other dressing props or anything else that might be in the scene, whether just background details or important props. At the same time, I'll also be making mood boards, so pulling together lots of images. I usually do this per set and putting together colour palettes for each set as well. I like to collaborate with the costume designer as well on that, on the creating colour palettes, because usually they'll have an idea for the kind of colours they want the character to wear. And I love incorporating that into the set as well and having a unified colour scheme throughout the film. So I come up with sort of base colour palettes as well as colours for when the characters are doing better or doing worse as well throughout their arc in the film. So when I've got the set breakdowns and mood boards, I then go into my dressing list. And the dressing list is basically a big shopping list. So I take everything that I've written on the set breakdowns and compile it into one big document in like specific categories. So I break it down into action props, into furniture, soft furniture, greens, which is like plants, pictures/mirrors, lighting, which is like lamps, obviously, and stuff like that. Smalls, which is just small things in the background. And that's really useful just to have everything from all the different sets grouped together into their categories. So if I go to a specific place that has loads of plants, I can be like, okay, I need 2 for the bedroom and 3 for the bathroom or whatever. I like to bring the character's personality into the space, so in quite a literal way in terms of props, imagining what kinds of things this person would have in their home, as well as throughout the space in terms of colours, textures, the way things are arranged in the space, shapes for instance. So for example, a character who is quite emotionally closed off or high strung, if they had loads of pictures up on their wall, they might have all the pictures be exactly the same size or evenly spaced in straight rows. The picture frames might be all the same colour, and that would create a certain feeling. Whereas if the character was more relaxed, more bohemian, a bit eccentric, they might have their picture frames on the wall be all different kinds of shapes and sizes. They might be a bit like higgledy-piggledy, not quite straight on the wall. They might have a mixture of different colours of frames. And all those things sort of built up throughout the space really create the feeling that we want to go for. So when designing Evelyn's flat, we really wanted to create a space that was cozy and warm and like kind of a safe haven for her, because she spends a lot of time in her flat and she's had quite a difficult life up until this point, and this space is where she really feels safe. We wanted to add a little bit of a hint to how Evelyn is actually much older than she appears to be. Small things we did to make things feel a little bit dated in the flat was we used an old style CRT TV, which looked really great in the rushes, and also had her use a Polaroid camera, which is obviously having a resurgence now. That's just another little ode to the past. The only challenges has really been typical low budget film challenges, which has just been getting everything I want to get within the budget and filming in Airbnbs. It's kind of annoying because you don't have a lot of freedom over what you can do with the space. But apart from that, I mean, there hasn't really been any real challenges, only good challenges, like the challenges of figuring things out. So the advice I'd give anyone who wants to get into production design is to get involved in all the jobs boards, the film jobs boards that are out there. There are quite a few on Facebook. I think there are quite a few on Instagram as well. On Instagram, I think you can follow pages and then they post jobs to their stories, which is really good. I always use those. So make sure that you're in the right space to see jobs coming up. If you don't have a portfolio, if you don't have any experience, I would really suggest trying to do stuff on your own. Just getting something that you can show people, whether it's just making a corner of your bedroom look really pretty and taking a few photos of it, or taking a few videos of it even. Anything that you can do to get something that you can show people when you send them a message and say, hi, I'd like to do this, is great. There are actually loads of people out there who are in the same boat, but they might be wanting to create a portfolio for camera, for photography, videography, for lighting. So my advice is find those people, meet up with them and create some cool stuff together that you can show people. So important. If you're artsy, then concept art or any sketches or buildings or rooms is really useful. Look up what concept art looks like and do a few sketches in that kind of style. And also remember that networking is about 50% of your job as a freelancer. That's something I didn't actually realise until last year. When you first start, you think you just sort of reply to jobs and that's it, but you actually have to do quite a lot of cold emailing or just messaging people when they post things. Even if you're not quite suited to them, just message and say, hey, thought I'd say hi, I'd love to get into art department trainee stuff. Please keep me in mind if anything comes up. And as long as you don't do it like every single week to the same person, it's actually not annoying. I discovered it's not annoying, so you can do it. My top 3 tips for set designing on a low budget. So tip 1 would be creating a priority system. So if you're not working with a lot of money, what you want to do is prioritize the most important things to get first. So the way I've started doing it is high priority items are like action props, things that if you didn't have them, the scene wouldn't really make sense. So they're kind of essential to get for the film. And then mid-level priority is things like set dressing, maybe sofa throws or cushions, which aren't really essential, but would make a lot of difference and you ideally want to have. And then the lowest priority would be small little details that would make you very happy to put in, but don't necessarily need to be there. So for example, like incense or glass candlesticks, using 2 examples from this project, very fun, but if they weren't there, no one would really notice, apart from me. Tip number 2, always check what you can get for free, because you can get a surprising amount for free. FreeCycle is really great for that if you don't know about that. And sometimes you can get free stuff on Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree, where that's not as common, however still look. Also, just borrow or steal as much as you can from friends, family, and your film crew. Very useful tip. I always make a props list to give out to the film crew before I buy it of things that they might have at home, because it makes life simpler, to be honest. Tip number 3, if you need a lot of one thing, so like a load of books or a load of DVDs or something, search for job lots on the internet. Because when I started, I did not know what job lot was, but it's basically a bundle of things that they sell for a cheaper price than if you were to buy a load of individual books. So that's actually really useful. So on eBay or Gumtree or even Marketplace, they'll either sell things as bundles or job lots. So look out for that. Also, try haggling. A lot of people on Facebook Marketplace will actually accept weirdly low offers if you just try. So it's always worth a try.